All right, meals ready to eat, or MREs. There's a lot of confusion out there about MREs. When should I purchase? What should I purchase? What comes in the meal packs? What are they all about? So I wanted to put together a quick little video going over what is in the contents of this box and then kind of talking briefly about MREs. That way we can hopefully clear the air for people and see if it's the right thing for them to purchase. Depending on your budget, it could be a little expensive, but there are options for you to purchase individual meals if you do decide that this is the right purchase for your specific application. The biggest thing to keep in mind as well is specifically that application portion of this. So what am I looking to do with this meal that I'm about to bring out into the wilderness, or if I'm preparing, whatever it may be? What is the reason I need this meal? And is this meal conducive for the environment or the activity that I will be doing? There are other options out there for meal styles that you can get. However, this video specifically will be over the MRE. Guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It's something that's free and it helps provide free content for other people in the future. We're gonna be doing a lot of different videos regarding firearms, outdoor stuff, food, meal preparation, and then also other styles of preparation that you can do. And then your engagement is what's actually going to help us understand what direction to take this channel and what people are actually looking for. If you have questions, please comment. Or if you have other concerns or different video ideas, please also comment as well in the videos. Another good option is to go to social media and reach out to us on a personal message. This might actually be the easier option to do. So any of our social media can be found at JS Outdoors. So if you just Google that, you'll be able to get in contact with us via personal message. So I picked this case up at a store called Buy Mart, and that is kind of specific to the Pacific Northwest from what I understand. And it's got sporting goods kind of mixed with other general stores. It's kind of like a really small Walmart that actually sells firearms and ammunition. In the store, they only had Case B, so there is Case A and Case B, usually associated with MREs. This is Case B, so it'll have meals 13 through 24 inside of it. I'm not sure who the company is that supplied these cases to the store. It would be through like a reseller, and there's not a lot of good information on there, so I can't provide that to you. However, there is some information here that tries to clear the air regarding MREs, because there is some confusion when people are actually going to purchase. So on their packaging sticker here, I'll just kind of read off what they say. So it kind of refers to the MRE shelf life and also the inspection date label, which will be found on the top of the product here. So the sticker goes over what the inspection/test date is, and then what it is in comparison to an expiration date. So the MREs are designed to be shelf stable for extended periods of time under the proper storage conditions, and the keyword there is proper. Unlike traditional food products, MREs do not have an expiration date. Instead, they are assigned a test or inspection date, which is used to evaluate the product's quality and integrity. Specifically to the test and inspection date, this is basically provided by the manufacturer as a guideline for periodic quality checks. It does not indicate spoilage or any immediate need to discard this product. If stored properly, and the keyword here is if, MREs can remain safe for consumption well beyond the inspection date that's listed on the top. So shelf life and storage guidelines, MREs stored at room temperature, and they're calling room temperature roughly 75 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, can last 5 years or slightly beyond that from the inspection/test date. So the test date here, the inspection date, should have a shelf life of over 5 years of that if it kept at that condition. If stored at a cooler temperature, so below 60 degrees, MREs may remain viable for up to 10 years or even longer. Heat exposure, and they specifically say anything above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, can and will reduce the shelf life for the MRE. So their note specifically to the consumer is kind of, what does this mean for you? Do not confuse the test and inspection date with the expiration dates. Always check the packaging for signs of damage, so you want to make sure that it's not swelling or unusual odor coming from that package. And that's specifically once you open up the MRE inside those specific meal packages. So if that's swelling or if there's a weird odor coming from it, don't eat it. So they also do reference a USDA guideline, which is available on the USDA website. and you can go there. We'll drop that website link into the description section, and you can kind of it talks about the shelf stability of MREs. The biggest thing to consider here is that when you are purchasing these and storing them, just keep it in a cool, dry place. Keep it away from moisture, specifically up off of the floor. So kind of like when you palletize things in stores, you can have some sort of barrier that keeps it up off of the floor, so that way if moisture does make its way down, you still have the packaging, external packaging, protected at that point. All right, so as you open up the case, you'll pop the bindings, rip open the glued top, and then there'll be this protective piece of cardboard here. Basically what that's gonna do is that's gonna keep you from, like if you're using a knife, damaging the packaging here. So within that, you'll have your individually packaged meals here. And this is 2 rows deep, so 6 on top and then 6 below. All right, so for example's sake, in this one, this package actually did have a duplicate menu. So we have 2 menu 19s right here, and we are missing menu 21. So this is gonna happen. There's gonna be mess ups, there's gonna be mispackaged products, or what other things can happen is, let's say menu item 21, the one that's missing here, they had an issue in the plant and that was destroyed, like a whole 40 cases of it was destroyed. So what they'll do is that supplement it with something else that's available at the time. And in this case, menu 19 was it. All right, menu 13 is cheese tortellini and a tomato sauce. Menu 14, Mexican style rice and bean bowl. Menu 15, Mexican style chicken stew. Menu 16 is a chicken burrito bowl. Menu 17 is pork sausage, which is maple flavored. And this is a good example of that you will have some breakfast items and then some lunch and dinner items as well within your case. So you can kind of mix and match that depending on the time of day, or if you just prefer breakfast, that's a kind of a win for you as well. Menu 18 is beef ravioli and a meat sauce. Menu 19 is a beef patty with jalapeno pepper jack. And this is the one that we got a duplicate of, so we get 2 of those. Menu 20 is Italian sausage with pepper, onions, and marinara sauce. Menu 22 is a beef goulash. Menu 23 is a pizza slice, and this is a pepperoni pizza. And menu 24 is a Southwest style beef and black beans. All right, so with shelf life food, there's a lot of different options, MRE being one of the more popular ones. These do seem to be more popular because of the mil-spec kind of phenomenon that happens. Specifically in like the AR-15 world, as you see, this is mil-spec, this is mil-spec, this is mil-spec. Or like with backpacks or whatever it is, there is a specification that the military puts out, and then that is the minimum standard that is required for it to be military specification. That's where it gets its name from. One thing to keep in mind with mil-spec or military specification is that that is their minimum requirement. And that does not necessarily mean that it's going to be the best product out there. So just because something is mil-spec, it doesn't mean that it is the best. So there might be other options out there. One of those other options is freeze-dried meals. Now, these are a little bit easier to purchase because they're in majority of your stores. Also online, pretty easy to purchase. Depending on the manufacturer of the freeze-dried meal, it's going to depend upon the shelf life of that meal. What I've found is that Mountain House meals have one of the higher freeze-dried ratings for length of time from your purchase to its expiration date. Specifically for this meal, we have best by August of 2054, and currently it is 2025. So that's a pretty good time that you can have this sitting out. Now, I've never pushed the limits of these, and I usually use them within a couple of years when I do purchase a package or a case of them. So it's difficult to say how the degrading taste over time will actually occur. Now, that's a long time for food to be preserved and available for you. These meals specifically you fill with water, boiling water, and then there's a cook time associated with it, and then it's ready to eat. That is where the MREs are a little bit different, and they have their place in the world. Whether you're going out backpacking, hiking, hunting, whatever it is, preparing for the worst, whatever your application is. Each one of these options is going to have a very specific positives and minuses to the incident or situation that you're in. Specifically with MREs, I like these and I think about these as if you're going to be out doing something for the day. With me being out doing something for the day, I'm going to have minimal tools or things to do to prepare my food. The only thing that is required to cook these meals, if you do want to eat it hot, which you don't have to, these meals could all be eaten cold as well. There is a heater that is water activated, and that requires a very small amount of water. But that's it for the requirements for MREs. Whereas in other situations, you might need an open flame or a fire if you're cooking on a pot or a pan. Or with the freeze-dried meals, you'll need like a jet boil or, again, pot with water. That way you can bring it up to a boil and then introduce that into the freeze-dried meal. That might not always be available in your application or the time frame that you have for yourself given the task that you're performing. So these are just things to keep into consideration when you're trying to decide what meal you would like to purchase. All right, we're back on the messy reloading bench. We've got everything scooted out of the way. Let's open this up so you can kind of see the general contents of what's inside one of these meals. Now, please keep in mind as we go through this meal that each one is going to be a little bit different and it'll have different contents in it. And it might be the fact that you have menu 19 and some of your components are different as well, depending on availability of items, shortages, whatever it may be, even just changing the menu because they want to change the menu, there might be variations to what you have. So please keep that in mind. All right, so you start by peeling open the seal on the top. And then out comes your menu. Bag is empty. So everything comes out and is again packaged in a sealed container. So that leaves one protective package. Now we have a second protective package. And as you can see, everything inside of this is again packaged individually. So there's a lot of opportunity for your food to stay safe while it's being transported, stored, and it minimizes the possibility of impacts. Let's say my knife cuts across the top of this, but it doesn't impact the second portion of the packaging. We now still have a sealed product and it will still extend the life of it. Other things to consider as well is, are there applications or uses that we have for some of this packaging? You don't have to necessarily save this if you don't have a use for it. Go ahead and pack it out or put it into a legal means of disposing of garbage. However, if we're working in a survival situation or if we're out on an extended backpacking trip, is there a use I have for a container? Do I need to collect things? Are there things I need to store or keep dry? Can I wrap this a couple times and create a dry bag? There are sometimes extra uses for things that we have, and we don't necessarily just have to throw it away. That being said, also just don't hoard because that extra weight will create pain for you later. All right, so this is everything that comes in the meal. There is quite a bit here. It's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. So we will take some of this away, kind of break it down into like the main course and then what other sides you have. That way we can stay a little more organized and you can have a better understanding of what comes in these meals. All right, so first up we have the main dish, which is the jalapeno patty. This is it. There is no nutrition facts on it. However, the sleeve will have the nutrition facts. So each one of these components will have the nutrition facts on it, so that way you can have a better understanding of what you're putting in your body. And if you need to be tracking calories, it's a good way to do so. So specific for heating the product, the MRE has its own heat source, and we have our do not fill line. And we have our basic instructions here. Essentially what it is you'll open the bag, you will place your item into the bag, so the beef patty into the bag, and then this heater, once activated with the water, which is not overfilled here, will then start to heat the water and then therefore heat your product and then making it a little bit more palatable to eat, hopefully. So my favorite part about these is you want to make sure in the instructions to read that you will prop up your heater on a rock or something. So if you do not have a rock, make sure you just have a something and then that will get you by. We also have the 5 R's for optimal recovery. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read this, but we're just kind of skip forward through this for now. So on top of the beef patty and the heating element, we have some plain tortillas and we have some mayonnaise if you're into that kind of thing. and the spoon to assist with your eating pleasure. All right, moving on from there, we have our snacks or our sides. This one came with some smoked almonds and then also some baked snack crackers, cheddar cheese. So I'm assuming these are the Cheez-It versions. They feel pretty smashed up. This does have somewhat of a bulge, and I think that was an attempt to keep the crackers from getting smashed. However, if you see, there is also a slight tear. One thing you can do to make sure that it is not a compromised seal is kind of push on either side without trying not to damage the crackers, and see if air is coming out of that hole. If it is, throw it away. Don't chance it because you might be crapping yourself in the woods. All right, we also have our dessert section. So we have our Reese's Pieces, and when you are buying these MREs, understand that these packaged products like Reese's Pieces or the other candy you will get will likely be expired by the time you get it. That's just the nature of the beast. These products in these packages available to civilians are a resale item, so therefore you are not getting them fresh off of the factory line. So if you feel like you can have some peanut butter snacks that you can eat after the expiration date of 2024, and again, this is 2025, and our inspection date on this was December of 25. Chance it if you want to, that's totally up to you. Also available for dessert, we have our marbled pound cake. Yes, pound cake, ladies and gentlemen. That is a delicacy. We also have our flavored drink, and the flavored drink in this specific meal is our lemon lime flavored no fruit juice. So this is not fruit juice, ladies and gentlemen. This is just lemon lime flavored. Basically what you do is you rip off the top, pour your required amount in here. We have our fill line, and you shake it up a little bit and you can drink it. So this should be kind of an electrolyte, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it is a powdered drink, so you're not just drinking water, which is kind of nice. So we also have our random items package, which usually always has gum. Some people say it's a laxative gum. Some people, like the manufacturer, say it is not a laxative, so you decide. We have our matches, iodized salt, moist towelettes, and then also light tissue. Now, when you are out in the woods and you don't want to ruin your sock or cut up your sleeves from your shirt, this might be a good option for if you are out without any toilet paper. However, you should keep toilet paper in the truck at least, so that way you're not ruining things that you shouldn't. Hopefully this video provided you with a little bit more information on MREs so you can make a more educated judgment on what's best for your application. Whether your application brings you out in the woods for the day, potentially staying overnight if something goes wrong, or if you're preparing for something, a bug in or a bug out situation. Really anything that you do or prepare for, you want to make sure you have the best information available, so that way you can decide what you spend your money on and make sure that that dollar goes the length in which it needs to, so that way you're not wasting money. Now, specific to me, again, these MREs are more for like if I'm going out and doing something and I don't have or want to bring all of those extra tools to make a meal, but I still want to be able to get those calories. This is an easy, simple one-stop shop, and it requires a very small amount of water and no heat source in order to cook the meal if you do want to eat it hot. But again, you can eat it cold if you desire. Everything will, however, be dependent on your situation, your comfort of being able to prepare food, and also what you will have available to you during your incident or situation, whatever it is that you're preparing for. Please leave a comment, let us know what you liked about the video. If there's anything specific you would like to see with the MREs or other foods or just any other videos you have an interest in, please reach out in the comments or get to our social media pages and reach out to us in a personal message there. Thank you all for watching. Be safe and get outdoors.